peeps. You're listening to She's My Cherry Pie, the baking podcast from the Cherry Bombe Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jessie Sheehan. I'm a baker, recipe developer, and author of 4 baking books, including Snackable Bakes. In each episode, I hang out with some of the sweetest bakers around and take a deep dive into their signature bakes. My guest today is Colu Henry. Colu is a writer, cook, and author. She's contributed to the New York Times, Food and Wine, House and Garden UK, and more. She writes a weekly Substack newsletter, Colu Cooks, and has also written 3 cookbooks, including Back Pocket Pasta, Colu Cooks Easy Fancy Food, and her latest one, which just published, Better at Home, Recipes for Big Nights In. Colu is a dear friend of mine, and in her new book, she offers recipes for cooks who want to make sophisticated yet simple dishes at home. Colu joins me to talk about her fascinating career in food, from restaurant and chef PR, where she discovered a surprising perk of the job, learning to write recipes, to cookbook writing and everything in between. She tells me about her Italian grandmother's extensive gourmet magazine collection and how it actually inspired her second book, and about summers on Cape Cod and all the delicious things she ate. Of course, we talk about her brand new book and pizza. Colu is a pizza expert and has a wood-burning pizza oven at her summer home in Nova Scotia and regularly hosts pizza parties. And her book includes 5 different pizza recipes. We go over the dough recipes she uses, how creating pizza flavors reminds her of creating those for pasta, and how to get the best results when you don't have a pizza oven at home. Spoiler alert, please get yourself a pizza stone. I loved learning about Colu's childhood, watching her grandmother cook, and talking with her about her incredible professional trajectory. Yes, she was a cabaret singer post-college, of course. So stay tuned for our chat. You can find today's recipe at cherrybombe.substack.com. Cherry Bombe's new issue is here. It's called Mom's the Bombe and has 3 amazing covers featuring these dynamic mother-daughter duos. Chloe Crane LaRue and her mom Trudy, who are the co-authors of the cookbook, The Artful Way to Plant-Based Cooking. Sama Dada and her mom Shermeen. Sama is the founder of Dada Eats and a cookbook author. And food stylist and entertaining expert Romilly Newman and her mom Antonia, a casting director, screenwriter, and filmmaker. Chloe, Sama, and Romilly all share a deep bond with their moms who have influenced their culinary styles and careers. Don't miss their cover stories with original photography by Jennifer Livingston. This issue is also packed with delicious recipes, beautiful photos, and heartfelt essays. Head over to cherrybombe.com to subscribe now to guarantee your copy. Or pick up a copy at your favorite local bookstore or culinary shop. Let's chat with today's guest. Colu! So excited to have you on She's My Cherry Pie and to chat pizza with you and so much more.
I am so thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's a treat.
Can you start us off with an early baking memory from childhood? Some memory of you baking something by yourself or maybe baking with your mom or your grandmother?
Absolutely. My mom made so many different types of holiday cookies growing up. And my favorite were kiffles, I think they're called. They were like a sort of a croissant shaped when they were stuffed with like a mixture of like walnuts and I want to say brown sugar, which is not a traditional like holiday cookie. Or maybe it is, I don't know. And then she dusted them with powdered sugar, and they were my absolute favorite. She also made sugar cookies, and she was a really great baker. Both she and my grandmother were very good bakers. And then she also always made this chocolate cake, which was her like special recipe. It had buttermilk in it. It was very simple, very straightforward, but that was like her go-to for a special treat.
Like for your birthday, would that be your cake?
That's a great question. No, it was more like she would just kind of say she'd share it after a meal. Like, do you want me to make a chocolate cake? And it's like, who's going to say no to that? Yeah. My husband loved it.
Yeah, it must have been quick if she could make
quick.
it. Oh, I love
Yeah, it was
that.
quick. Yeah.
And the kiffle, that's not Italian.
No, it's not.
German or Swedish?
I think it might be German or maybe Ukrainian.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I have to look into that.
And would you help her?
No.
Okay.
No, I stayed away for a little bit. Yeah.
I'll wait till the cookies come out of the oven.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a baking memory of your mom baking. What about, in addition to the kiffle and the cake, any other like baked good eating memories? It can even be like at the corner store or at the gas. Like, I have so many amazing memories of like devil dogs and double stuffed Oreos.
Twinkies and stuff like that.
Was that your jam?
We didn't really get access to a lot of that stuff, but I would occasionally sneak a Twinkie, and they were delicious.
I'm weirdly having like a moment where that sounds good.
I want it with like some like Maldon salt on top of it now, though.
Ooh, honey.
That sounds kind of good.
Something viral here.
No, that would be great. Let's get all those desserts and then
put salt on all of them and see if. Can we make that video together?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really funny.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
That would be funny.
Hilarious. Yeah. Okay, so one thing I did want you to tell us about, which is actually a recipe in the book, which we're going to discuss, is about the seeded drop biscuits that your grandmother used to make, and you have them in the book. Hers were slightly different. Tell us about those. They sound so good.
Absolutely. So we grew up going to Cape Cod every summer for many, many years. We started when I was 5, and I think I even went up until like my sophomore year of college. And my grandmother lived with us growing up, which was unusual, I think, for this kind of day and age. But she'd always come to the Cape with us too. And she made these really beautiful biscuits. Hers were not drop biscuits. They were much firmer
like
and they had more shape.
Cookie cutter
yes, exactly,
biscuit
exactly.
Cutter.
But I remember like everyone, my mom especially, being so excited in the mornings when my grandmother would offer to make them. And she topped them with a variety of different seeds. She did poppy seeds, she did caraway seeds, sesame seeds, and they were just like a joyous celebration of mornings on the Cape during the summer, which was really neat. So I adapted the recipe for the book and I turned them into more of a drop biscuit, and they're delicious.
And also you say it sort of began your obsession with seeds, which I love. I'm so interested that that's what your grandmother chose to put on top of them. Like, I was wondering if it was going to be some, I don't even know if this exists, some like Italian seed or something like from her childhood and her upbringing.
Yeah.
Or if it was just like a moment. It's almost like an early everything bagel situation without the onion and the garlic.
That's a really good point. You could do, I feel like she maybe did do onion flakes at one point too, but you're right, it is sort of leaning towards like an everything
that
bagel.
Savory. But what I like is it could be sweet. Like, would you eat them with butter and jam?
Yes, you
as
would.
Well as like
you
an
would.
egg or something.
And I actually recently made the drop biscuits for a video, and we just used a little bit of a mixture of poppy seeds and sesame seeds, which was really great. And the ones that I made are a little bit more fluffy. They're more kind of like scone-like. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're delicious. And I love seeds. I will, like, anything seeded is like my favorite thing. Honey, I will always order it.
I did not know this about you.
Yeah.
I love that you have a seed thing.
Do you like seeds?
I do, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, am I a seed person? But Matt, my husband, who you know, is obsessed with like seeds, and like he's always putting them into salads, for texture and crunch. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm around seeds.
Yeah. I'm seed adjacent.
I'm very seed forward. Yeah. There was another sort of Cape Cod food memory that I love, not a baking one, but tell us about your mom's pita stuffed sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh my
so
God.
When I started going to Cape Cod with my family, we started first staying in Wellfleet. This is back in like 1982. It was very bohemian and like cool. And we went to this beach called Cahoon Hollow, which had these crazy, crazy dunes, like insanely crazy dunes. And we went with my mom and my dad my dad's still my dad.
He was my dad at the time.
He was my dad at the time. They have since divorced. And her best friend Kathy and husband Danny Dellinger, which is a whole nother story. And my mom would always pack these pita sandwiches, which were Havarti and sprouts and mayonnaise. And it was just this really special sandwich that we got sort of as a reward for being, I love a sandwich on the beach.
I was just going to say that. That's why, like, even though if somebody said to me, would you like Havarti, sprouts, and mayo in a pita?
You'd be like,
I might be like, maybe, but could you put turkey? Like, I might want to zhuzh it. But when you hear about it being eaten when it's like salty and warm and you're at the beach and there might be sand in it, I'm like, and maybe it's a little warm.
Yes.
You 100% come from a food, I hate to say foodie family, so a food family. You've been passionate about food your whole life, and you basically said food was like the only thing your family talked about. I love that you family dinner every night of the week, meat sauce on Sundays, and pasta 1 to 2 additional time. I mean, your house sounds like literally the house that every child dreams of. Like, can't I just have noodles? Like, incredible.
It was fun. We ate very well.
Wow.
People would ask to come for dinner.
Yeah. And is your grandmother, who's this incredible person, lived to 102, parents from Italy. Mm-hmm. She lived with you, as you said. Was she making homemade?
No.
No.
She
but
would not.
she was the cook, or would she and your mom do it together?
She and my mom would do Sunday sauce together primarily, but she didn't cook a ton. She did more of the baking, honestly, but she and my mom would do Sunday sauce together, which was really fun. Waking up to like the smell was always like a thing. It was really special.
I read that you would like wake up on Sunday mornings to
meatballs
frying.
Literally.
Which is literally like the best smell
in the whole world. I would like run downstairs.
So explain the sauce to me. Is it a meat sauce with meatballs, or it's like a... Talk to me.
Yes, sure. So they would do meatballs. It would change, obviously, sometimes depending on what was around, but they would do brajol. They would add a pork chop if it was around, and they would just like, they'd brown the meatballs and they'd brown all the meat, and then they would just let everything kind of simmer for a really, really long time, which was really nice to be home for those days.
Yeah. You said that your mom was always helping your grandmother, and even if you weren't helping, you wanted to be around that
I watched
energy.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't, at that point, you weren't like, hey, what can I do?
Mm-mm.
That's so interesting. I was the same way.
Oh, interesting.
I loved food so much, and I didn't come from a food family necessarily, but we all loved food, but wasn't remotely, I was like, I want the cookie and the cake, but no, I don't need to learn to make it. No,
yeah, same. I just was observing, and I was like, this is nice, and this smells good, and, but you pick up so much without even really thinking about it.
100%. And was your mom sort of as good a cook and baker as your grandmother?
Absolutely.
Wow. Incredible. Dad?
No,
not at all.
He made great scrambled eggs and very good popcorn.
Yum. Like soft scrambled eggs?
Yeah.
Yum. And I love popcorn.
Oh, I do too.
Oh, my God. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Peeps, did you hear the news? Jubilee New York 2026 is happening on Saturday, April 25th at the Glass House in Manhattan, and tickets are on sale now. Jubilee is Cherry Bomb's annual conference celebrating women and creatives in the world of food and drink. It'll be a beautiful day of connection and community, plus delicious bites and sips. You'll meet other thoughtful food folks and be inspired by the featured speakers, panelists, and more. I had such a great time at last year's event, and I know this year's will somehow be bigger and better. Tickets are on sale now at cherrybomb.com. If you're an official Bomb Squad member or a paid Substack subscriber, be sure to use your discount code at checkout. You can find it in your inbox or on our Substack website. Head to cherrybomb.com for all the details. I hope to see you there. Now back to our guest. I also love this about your grandmother. She had this fantastic collection of gourmet magazines spanning from I read one place I read the 30s, one place I read the 40s, but till the 90s.
I just picked one up. So I had them. I moved them all over the place.
Yep.
We lived in Brooklyn, then we moved to Oregon, then we moved back, and Chad, my husband, was finally like, we got to stop.
Yeah.
So I ended up donating them to the Brooklyn Kitchen, a lot of them, but I do have some. And I actually found one last week in Chad's office. It was 1923.
Wow.
Yeah.
Honey. You should pitch a story about it to the new gourmet. That would be such a good story.
It is a good
because
story.
You have so many of them.
I do.
I love that. And you actually say that it was that collection, and specifically the ones from the 1970s, that actually inspired your second book, Colu Cooks, Easy Fancy Food. Would your grandmother cook from them? Were they more like food porn for her?
I think they were more food porn. The one thing I do think she made that I have a recipe, and I only know that it's from Gourmet because they credit it on the recipe, is the Lip Tower spread. Which
tell me
is
what that is.
Cream cheese, chopped up pickles, capers, smoked paprika, a little bit of anchovy paste, garlic. It's a dip. I think it's Hungarian.
I want it right now.
Yeah, it's delicious. And they served it every year as like a snack before Thanksgiving.
Oh, my gosh.
It was
Yum.
good. So and I know it comes from Gourmet because
she wrote
Yeah. And butter. There was butter in there too.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And I kind of know the answer to this, but so growing up around all of this delicious food, but you never considered, when you went to college, it was musical theater, you never considered.
Correct.
Right. You weren't like, I wonder.
No, I was a freshman at Emerson, and I needed to make money because I, wanted to go out and do things. And a friend of mine, Matt Ellis, said, I'm working at this. He was a year older than me, said, I'm working at this very cool restaurant called Sansi. And then during that time, it was like the restaurant. I could probably get you a job. So I started as a barista, which was behind the bar, which was like the longest bar in the whole world. And it was like the most happening spot. And so a lot of my eating, sort of like trying new foods, happened there because, I grew up eating really well, but yes, Italian American and, roast chicken and beautifully made food. But this is where I had different flavors sort of for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, this is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
And then I just got really like more and more interested.
I love there was weirdly a baking moment that I discovered on the World Wide Web, which was you reading Ruth Reichel's Tender at the Bone. And I think this was during college and getting inspired to make her raspberry tart.
This is 100% correct.
Talk to me about that. Were you inspired to read the book because of the job? Like food was more interesting to you?
I was just, I had been working in the restaurant. I worked in restaurants my entire time in college. I was a barista. I then became a cocktail waitress. Then I was a bartender. So I sort of worked, all of these different, I wanted to keep learning more and more and more. And then you're correct. So I read that book because of my interest and just fell in love with her writing and just the way that she talked about food. And I became really inspired with the tart. I had no money. I spent pretty much all of my money on a tart pan, raspberries, which were really expensive. They're like, you needed a lot of raspberries for that tart. And I was so proud that I did that. Like that I was able to, I was like, okay, cool. Like I can, it was just like a really meaningful moment for me. And that kind of just set me off a little bit.
Do you remember? Was there like a pastry cream? Was there chocolate?
I believe there was a pastry cream.
Yeah. And then you kind of placed the raspberries on top.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I did it out of my North End apartment and the Little Italy of Boston, which was super fun. Yeah.
Yeah. As you said, you started sort of working front of house in restaurants during college, moved to New York, worked in restaurants there. I kind of knew this about you, but after college, of course, because you're Colu, you worked as a cabaret singer and a bartender. You ended up in fashion PR and then were inspired to take a food writing class, which kind of changed the trajectory of your PR career. Talk to me about that. Like, it's not even like you weren't taking a food cooking class. Like you kind of probably felt like you knew what you were doing in the No,
it was more, I was working in the restaurant and someone said to me, you really should get into PR. And I was like, I don't even know what PR is. Like, and it was at a fashion company, but I was still like obsessed with food because I had been working in restaurants and I just was, endlessly curious. And we started getting clients actually that were in the hospitality space. And I said to my boss at the time, I'm really interested in food. And she's like, well, why don't you take a food writing class?
Wow. Was the idea that because PR in the end is a lot about writing, if you were going to be promoting your clients, you needed to know how to write about food.
Exactly.
Love. So interesting.
Yeah. And
so interesting.
Thanks to her, she paid for it. She was like, please. So I took it with Andrea Strong, who's still writing. I mean, she's right. She's also a food writer, which, that was so long ago, but it really put me in the right direction because at that time, restaurants really hadn't had PR to open. And it was sort of like this really interesting moment where all of a sudden there were restaurant PR companies. And so I left the fashion world to sort of focus more on that.
Yeah. And were you cooking at home at this point?
A little bit, yeah. I was living in Fort Greene with my friend Susie, who I was just actually texting on the way here, and we'd throw Sunday night dinner parties. So we would love to entertain and like have people over.
Yeah. So you started doing PR for chefs and for restaurants, and I love this. You wanted to learn everything about food without having to work a night shift.
Correct.
Which I loved because I feel similarly. Yeah. This is fascinating. Actually doing this PR for chefs and restaurants taught you so much about writing cookbooks.
Yes.
Can you unpack that for us?
Absolutely. Chefs are so incredible, and I could never be one, but they don't write recipes very well because they're used to cooking, for this, it's a different pace, it's a different speed. So when magazines or, newspapers wanted recipes from chefs, they would send them to us, and then we'd have to essentially rewrite them because they weren't making sense. So I had a really great crash course on how to edit recipes, which was, obviously super helpful now looking back. I didn't realize it at the time. And then also part of the job was, coordinating photo shoots and making sure people were, essentially producing photo shoots for these chefs. And I didn't really realize it, but all those things you really should know.
Yes.
To write a cookbook. So I had all these skills and I just wasn't using them for myself.
Was the recipe writing particularly interesting and fun to you, or it was just something you were doing for your job? And
it was something I was doing for my job, and I could do it well, and it was kind of formulaic in a way, just because the first ingredient has to be the first. Once you know what you're doing, that piece becomes
total rote.
Rote.
Yeah, totally. You ended up helping to head up PR and special events at Bon Appetit. And I love this. And on your way out, you got a book deal. So cool. And I love this story, which I didn't know until I was researching you for this. Tell us about how Back Pocket Pasta came to be.
Sure.
It's such a good story, Colu.
It's a really good story.
Yeah.
I started a hashtag on Instagram called Back Pocket Pasta back when Instagram was not what it is now.
It was like a baby.
It was a baby.
Instagram was a baby.
You know, going viral meant like, 100 people used your hashtag or something.
Right.
So I had a crazy publisher. We had to be at our desks at 8:30 in the morning, which is absolutely insane in New York City, unless you're working, on Wall Street. I was working really late, having a great time, but coming home and I was just like, I don't want to order takeout all the time. So I started making pasta with whatever we had on hand. And it was obviously something I was very familiar with because I grew up eating a lot of pasta.
Yeah.
And it was just a really comfortable place for me to play, and it's an easy thing to riff on. So it just became like sort of what I was going to do. And then a colleague of mine and really good friend, Marnie, who was working at Vanity Fair, said to me, you should write a book. And I said, yeah, I should write a book. I literally had no idea what that, I don't know. And because I worked in publishing and had done restaurant PR, I sort of knew a lot of people in the space, but it didn't it wasn't coming together for me, right? And so my dear friend Talia Bayoki, who's a author herself, said to me, she was like, you know what? I'm just going to introduce you to my agent, Kim Witherspoon. And I was like, okay. Talia said, let me just put you in touch with Kim. If you're going to write a book, you should, have an agent. And I didn't realize that Kim Witherspoon was like the agent that she
Tony
is.
Bourdain's
Yes,
agent, right?
Yeah. And so I walked in. It was the day before my birthday. It was like November 12th. I met with Kim and she said, okay, let's do it. And I was like, okay. Let's do it. I really mean this. I had no sense of how lucky I was to be in that position. I was just like, all right.
Yeah.
Golly gee.
This worked out.
This feels great. Let's write a cookbook. Now I've seen the other side and I'm like, the dark side.
Yeah.
I was incredibly lucky, but I do believe a lot of this happened because of my experience working in PR.
100%.
The people, the understanding, how to do it. And then the other thing I will say is that because I was new to the scene, I said, I'm going to design a proposal. Mm-hmm. And so a friend of mine who happened to work at Clarkson Potter, but I knew her outside of that, I hired her to design the proposal. I had Peanut and Monk shoot it, and I submitted it. And Doris Cooper, who was the associate publisher at Potter at the time, said to me, you have now changed the course of how proposals will be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it was was so clear what your vision was.
Exactly. Which, And I got a lot of offers on that book deal, which was crazy and awesome.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I have two thoughts. One is, first of all, what was this, 2015? 15. I mean, yes, you had no idea how lucky you were, but don't you also think that cookbook writing was so different back then?
Yes. There was not TikTok.
No.
It was a whole different landscape. There's just so many people writing cookbooks now. It's changed tremendously.
Right.
And I think editors are looking for people with huge social media followings.
It's a different beast. Game.
Yeah. And at the time, I was one of those people with 10,000 followers.
Right. Which sounds so funny.
So silly.
I know.
But yes, it's absolutely changed. It's competitive out there.
Yeah, really competitive.
Yeah.
Well, it was different because you really couldn't write a book. Yes, you could with a great idea, which was you. Mm-hmm. But in general, people who were writing cookbooks had been at it for a long time. Yeah. Then next book came, Colu Cooks, Easy Fancy Food. Love that it was sort of inspired by the 1970s gourmet magazines of your grandmother. And now the third book. It's called Better at Home, Recipe for Big Nights In. And I love the title, and I actually love all your titles. Is that a Colu thing to be good at titles or I wonder if it's also like a PR thing. Guys know how to package stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Back Pocket Pasta was obviously super organic. And then Easy Fancy Food took a little bit more time. Mm-hmm. Better at Home was truly born out of me looking at Chad in the morning and saying, what would you like for dinner? Yeah. And he'd say, well, I don't know. We have this. I'm like, or, we could, go out. And he was like, Better at Home. And then we were like, wait a minute, that's actually a really great title for a book, because at the end of the day, I say this in the book, and I love restaurants and I love going out, but I'm always it is better at home.
Yeah.
So it was a very natural title. And when I sent it to Holly at Abrams, she was like, yes, this is a great title,
awesome.
So I was like, okay,
yeah. No, it's really good.
Speaks to people,
100%. And I feel like there are people who are leaning into cooking at home more, and they have written cookbooks. but the ring of the title, it just has a special feeling.
I like the fact that all 3 books have 3 words in them, which I know seems silly, but I like that they're...
I get it.
I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It's an essential cookbook that makes every meal feel special, perfect for food lovers, yet very approachable, which is 100% true because I spent a lot of time with this book. Tell us about pantry fluency, which I think is a really interesting Colu thing, and how that applies to seasonality and
absolutely. So in the pantry section of this book, I kind of kept it tight, and also, I mean, I guess it's long and not at the same time, but in short, I wanted people to know how I stock my pantry and know that if you're going to buy these things, then I want you to be able to use them throughout the book, because I feel like a lot of times, authors might call for something and then you'll never use it again, and then it gets, tucked in the back of a drawer, and then it's like...
You call it the dusty drawer
The dusty
syndrome.
Drawer syndrome.
Yeah.
So I really wanted people to have opportunities to make different recipes throughout the book using, I think, I use olives a lot, andouille a lot, anchovies a lot. And all these are all sounding Italian. But I think it's important too, right? And it's also an economical thing.
Yep, 100%. I also love that you call your refrigerator, maybe not in this book, but somewhere, the cool pantry. Is it in this book? Yeah. I love that.
It is. Thank you.
That.
I mean, it's true, right?
Yeah.
It's just the
100%. I never think about it that way, but there should be things in there too.
Absolutely. That's where you're going to store your olives when you open them. Your harissa paste.
Yeah. Totally. And then back to, your connection to your grandmother. She was a storyteller. You're a storyteller. That's important to you, the stories in the head notes. And you have these beautiful essays also sprinkled throughout the book. I also just have to call out the dedication, because part of the dedication is to dogs, past and present.
Yeah.
I love dogs. Again, you're so good with naming, but like the table of contents, the snacky bits and sips, the bowls.
Thank
nice
you.
to knows and good to haves. And then I love that there's a little dessert chapter.
My first.
Yeah, which is so great. This is so interesting to me. When you're talking in some of the head notes about the recipes and developing them, you say that you really never waste a meal without treating it as a recipe development opportunity or assignment. I mean, that is the beauty of being a savory cook. Like, I can't quite do that.
Right. No, you cannot. Yeah.
But that is so interesting, honey. Is that literally what it's like for you in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like last night, really didn't want to make dinner, but I had to make dinner. And I'm like, okay, what do I have? I had frozen shrimp. I knew I wanted something carby with it. And I was like, I have broccoli. Every time I'm going in, I'm like, okay, how am I going to make this? Am I going to try it out? Is it going to be worth making again? But I'm always thinking like that because I don't have time not to really think like that.
Yeah, no, that's so smart. So like when you started to write your third book, were a lot of the recipes already existed?
A lot of them were in my brain a little bit. Yeah, for sure. But then other ones just kind of came about naturally. I'd have an idea and then I'd make it for Chad and he'd be like, oh yeah, this is really good.
And also probably thinking about what you had. What you needed to add, what ingredients you need to go to turn it into something.
Absolutely.
And maybe this is a good segue into your sketchbooks.
Yes.
Tell us about them. And is that where you're sort of jotting down recipe ideas next to the stove?
It's so funny that you mentioned that because Chad and I were just looking at that last night. It is a catch-all sort of for, sometimes I'll write long form because I really like writing with a pen. Mm-hmm. And I have nice handwriting and it feels very therapeutic for me to just like actually write a full recipe out. And then, yes, it will be around to write down ideas or just scribble, a quick recipe, not like, not super legible. And then I also use it to doodle a little bit, which is something that I don't really do anywhere else. It's just kind of my safe, fun place.
Love.
Yeah.
And are there like a big collection of sketchbooks over the years?
No, there's one that I bought in Montauk at that like pharmacy at like, I'm talking, there's like that one spot and it's like just heavyweight paper. And I've just been like using it to death.
Love.
So it's almost at the end, but
Love.
yeah.
All right. I promise we're going to jump into pizza dough soon.
Oh,
promise.
No
but
worries.
Tell me about Colu Cooks, your Substack.
Oh, thank you. It's fun. So I launched it, I guess, in 2022, I think, or 23. I can't remember. It feels like it just launched, but it's been around for quite some time. But I really have been enjoying it. It's a really fun place for me to be able to write and to be able to share recipes and also sort of just what I am enjoying at the moment. It's been really fun and it continues to grow, which is really great. The platform itself is just turned into something completely different than, again, it's like Instagram. I'm like, what happened? I left you. We're back here somehow. Anyway, so I'm just trying to like stick to plan and use it for what I want to use it for,
Yeah.
which is sharing recipes, connecting with readers, and having interesting conversations.
Yeah. And are you doing paid and free?
I am.
Yep.
To be perfectly honest with you, I'm doing a lot more free right now because I have to believe that people want to support the work as opposed to I got something extra and maybe I'm naive, but that's just how I'm sort of approaching it at this moment. And that might change in the future. But right now I'm like, if you want to support me, that would be so helpful. That's it.
Yeah.
But if you can't, you can't.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you totally. All right. Now we're going to talk about pizza. Was there pizza growing up?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Oh, so your grandmother would make pizza dough?
My Uncle Michael would make homemade pizza every Christmas Eve.
Gosh, incredible.
We did Feast of the Seven Fishes, and he would do more of a Sicilian style, but we'd have tuna on, like a tuna pizza, a clam pizza. So I grew up eating a lot of homemade pizza.
Wow, I love that, Colu. So your pizza dough recipe is an adaptation of Chris Bianco's from Pizzeria Bianco in Phoenix, Arizona. Because you say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you have adapted his. Can you tell us a little bit about Chris and Bianco? And
I'm obsessed with him. I've not met him in person. However, our dearest friends, Dan and Helen, Dan's family is in Arizona, and they're friends with him. So I know that someday it will happen. But I just love his vibe. He's from Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, and which I grew up going to. I've seen him do interviews, and I just really connect with him, and I know he's the pizza guy, right? Yeah. And I'm also really obsessed with his canned tomatoes. They're like the best.
Yeah.
And so
where do you get those?
They sell them at Whole Foods.
Okay.
They sell them at Guido's. You can buy them online as well. Yeah. So I knew, that I knew his pizza was going to be the dough.
Yeah.
And it was the one that I really got comfortable with first. We've tried lots of doughs. We've tried the Roberta's dough. Chad once did like a 3-day fermentation dough. But like this for me was the one.
Yep. Love. And you tell us that for those of us that don't have wood-fired pizza ovens, we need to invest in a pizza stone.
Yes.
So in a large mixing bowl, and do you have like special bowls that you like to make your pizza dough?
I love to use ceramic bowl. Yeah. Just because it gets me in the
gets you in the
zone.
In the zone. In a large mixing bowl, we're going to whisk together some instant yeast. I love that it's instant. And we are going to mix it with a little bit of warm water, which is that just like for insurance?
It's just for insurance.
Yep.
You definitely don't have to when you're using instant yeast.
Yep.
But I just do it as backup just to make sure.
Yeah, love. And is there like a brand of instant yeast?
Fleischmann.
Yep. Totally. We'll see some little bubbles forming, which will show us that the yeast is activated. Then we're going to mix in 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Is there a brand of all-purpose?
I like to use 00 when I can find it. I like using King Arthur. In Nova Scotia, I can't remember the name of the brand. It's like very cool branding. It's like a yellow label. But anyway, I'm not super fussy about it.
So you can find that because your grocery store is like a half an hour from your house. Can you find flour that you like?
Absolutely.
So you don't have to come.
The superstore is super.
Yeah. We're going to mix in 3 cups of all-purpose flour into that yeasty water.
Yes.
And stir with a wooden spoon gradually until it's hydrated and combined. And then we'll switch to our hands. Do you switch to your hands when you add the additional flour, or are you already using your hands before you add the additional?
I'm kind of using my hands already. Yep. I'm just trying. It's a lot of flour.
Yep.
It makes a fair amount of dough.
Yep.
So I start with the spoon just to sort of get it going.
Yep.
And then, yes, when I start adding sort of the additional flour, my hands come into play a bit more.
Yep. Yeah. And you're just making sure with your hands that you'll add that additional flour, making sure everything's well incorporated. Why flour in 2 installments? Is it just because there's really so much?
I think so. I think adding all of that flour, it would not work.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of flour.
Yeah.
And my hands are like...
Yeah.
And
so, basically it's going to make like 4 10-inch pizzas. Yeah.
Correct.
Which is kind of perfect.
Correct. It is. It's all you need. We think with 4 people we're going to eat them all, and we never do. There's always a lot. There's always one pizza left behind.
Okay, get ready because when I come over.
Yeah, great.
I'm going to finish
You're coming. We're going to eat pizza.
I'm going to finish them.
Yeah.
Then we're going to add some kosher salt, which is something you have to bring to Nova Scotia.
Absolutely. Yep. I bring boxes of it.
Yep.
Because you can't get it.
No.
It's bizarre.
We're going to add a kosher salt, and you'll, again, mix with your hands until it's worked through. Then you'll transfer your dough to a floured work surface, knead it for about 5 to 7 minutes until it's extremely tacky and sticky. You'd never do this. Well, it's probably too much, but you've never done this like in a stand mixer with a dough hook.
I have not. Chad has. I have not done that. I prefer, for this, it's like kind of cathartic, and I really like using my hands for this. And you probably could knead it for longer. I just have... My patience is really short.
Yeah.
Chad's like, you really got to get... I'm like, I got this, and it tastes the same, so don't worry about it. But yes, you probably could do it in a mixer.
And is it so sticky that like you're flouring your hands?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
It's sticky. Yep. It should be tacky.
Yep. And we'll work it into a ball.
Yes.
And then we're going to sort of spread olive oil in a large bowl. 2 questions. Brand of olive oil.
Yeah, I like California Olive Ranch. That's sort of my go-to standard every day.
Mm-hmm. Do you bring that with you too?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
We kind of want to cover the bowl. There isn't like a certain amount.
So the dough doesn't stick when it rises.
Yep. And then we're doing this in a large bowl, ceramic bowl again. Yep. And then we'll transfer our dough into the bowl, rolling it around to make sure all the sides are slick with oil. Cover with plastic wrap and let rise until doubled in size. I love that only takes 2 hours.
It really does.
So if you're having people over for dinner, what time are you starting? I know there's another hour rest, but what time are you starting?
Probably like 2.
That's nice.
3 maybe?
Yeah. Because
you know what I find interesting about this recipe too is that there doesn't call for any sugar, which I think because a lot of pizza dough recipes call for sugar to help activate the yeast, but this doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Sorry to backtrack, but
no. I love that. So with a pastry scraper, you mean like I think of it as like a bench scraper?
Exactly.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
With a pastry or bench scraper or a sharp knife after this 2-hour rest, we're going to cut the dough into 4 equal portions. Now, are you fussy? Like, are you weighing them?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm so
No, I love that.
Yeah. I just use it's kind of my favorite part of the process is just like the cutting of the thing, then like shaping them into these like beautiful little bowl, you know?
Yep. And are you doing that thing where you're kind of moving the ball around and trying to kind of tighten up the dough on the bottom?
A little bit. Yeah. Like I'm kind of just, I like to make a little like almost pursed sort of thing on the bottom because I want to look beautifully round on top.
Yeah, totally. So we'll shape into beautifully round balls. Yeah. We'll dust with flour, and then we're going to cover. Is that with a dish towel or plastic wrap?
Yeah, I like using a dish towel.
Yeah. And then we're going to let rise on the counter until doubled in size, which is about an hour more. Again, I love this is like pretty fast.
It's pretty fast.
And we will use immediately because I'm at your house and we need to eat. But you could put it in the fridge for up to 3 days or freeze it. Do you guys ever do that?
We have frozen dough that we haven't gotten to. Yeah. It's not as, fresh, obviously.
Yeah.
But it does the trick.
It works. Yeah.
We call it emergency pizza.
Yeah. Now we'll discuss the baking and the topping for the recipe. And we're going to discuss specifically your recipe for pizza with sopressata and pickled peppers because that sounds so good to me. But also because if you don't put on the peppers and the meat, you basically have a classic Neapolitan pizza, tomato sauce and mozzarella. So I thought that would be nice for listeners. And I love this. You say that pizza actually is very similar to pasta in terms of like creating and building fun flavors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, like I give some other examples in the book. I think I do one with like taleggio and radicchio and a pistachio, which sounds really good. You could do a clam pizza with corn. Like it's so similar to, just the savory, once you know what works together, it can just be a whole.
But I loved that idea of the connection between pasta building and pizza building.
I was thinking, Yeah.
About an hour before you're ready to make the pizza. So probably after you make it into balls, when you need that hour rest, you're gonna place your pizza stone in the oven, preheat it. I love this. The recipe is written as if you're in your kitchen.
I know. It really is. I was rereading it. I'm like, this really is.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
So you're going to put your pizza stone in your oven. You're going to preheat your oven to 500 degrees or as high as it'll go. You want that stone as hot as possible. When you guys are in Hudson, do you use a pizza stone?
We actually have a Gosney now.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
I know there's Gosney and there's Uni. Do you have a preference?
We like the Gosney a lot. Thank you, Gosney.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, God and Gosney.
Yeah, right. It's great. It's such a nice thing.
Yeah.
We ended up doing a 30-person pizza party at our friend Emma and Dom's house. We transported the Gosney onto the back of their pickup truck and just made pizza for 30 people until it was so cold the olive oil froze and we had to shut it down.
Oh, my God.
It was really fun.
One thing you say, which is really important, which you've kind of alluded to before, we have to have our pizza toppings ready to go before we're going to shape those balls into pizzas because we need to work quickly once the dough is on the stone. So there's a mise en place is like essential here. I had a question about this. We're going to remove the pizza stone from the oven, dust with semolina flour, and then shape our pizza into the 10-inch rounds? Or should we shape first and then pull the stone?
I think we should probably shape first. And then pull, although it's kind of hard. But yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's tricky because you're probably really fast. But for those of us that are less fast, because that was going to be my other question, I find the shaping so hard.
It's challenging.
Do you have any techniques for us?
I'm going to be honest with you. Chad is a better shaper than me.
Yeah.
He's very confident. He shapes it. He just knows. He's also an artist and a sculptor, so it makes sense that it works for him. The advice that I have is like you take it and you just kind of like let it fall. Like you don't want to work it. You just have to let it sort of like do its thing,
Right.
like relax a
So
little
you're
bit.
holding the
You're
ball
holding
up in your hand.
Yeah, and then you're sort of holding it on each side and just kind of like very gently, just kind of
Moving
like
your hands
moving
like
your hand
clockwise.
clockwise around. Exactly. And it will, fall into
Yeah.
shape. And even like the photos in the book, they're not perfectly round.
Yeah.
They're mostly round, but
Yeah. Once we've shaped into our 10-inch rounds, we're going to remove the pizza stone from the oven, dust with semolina flour. Remind us why we use semolina.
it helps so the dough doesn't stick to
And
the
also, is it also for the texture? Because it is kind of like that
sometimes. I mean,
crunchy.
yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah, sometimes.
I mean, it's probably my pizzas. You can taste it, but if you're doing it properly, you're probably not really.
Who knows? There's no wrong in pizza making.
Oh, so true. So we take out the stone. We have our rounds. Now we're going to top everything. Love. Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because you don't want to move them once you've topped them.
No.
Love. Okay, so less is more when it comes to toppings because you don't want wet pizza.
Right, no.
A pizza with a wet
you
bottom.
use so little sauce on these pizzas.
I was going to say, I can't wait to talk about this sauce because I have never read this before and I love it so much. First of all, it's only 2 to 3 tablespoons, but second of all, it's not just red sauce.
No.
It's passata.
It's passata.
Tell us about passata.
I love passata. I love the Muti brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very smooth. Has, it's like almost like a puree.
Yep.
And, you can buy like tomato sauce in a can, like, those little cans.
Yep.
But Chad and I really just like to use the passata, a little bit of oregano, salt, pepper, olive oil.
Will you remind, for those who know, or just tell me because I had to Google it, tell us what passata is.
Passata is just tomatoes that have been like, I think through a
sieve.
Through a sieve or a mill.
Yeah, but it's uncooked.
Yeah, it's uncooked. Yes, it's uncooked.
Which is really interesting. So we're going to put only 2 to 3 tablespoons on.
Yeah.
Question, are we leaving a border?
Yes.
Yes,
You're
leave a
leaving
border with the passata. And it's so little, it's almost like you could probably see spots of dough through the red sauce.
Yes, but then you're going on with, anyway, I'll let you lead there.
Totally. So now we're going to, as you said, add a few good pinches of dried oregano.
Yep.
Brand?
Burlap and Barrel has some really nice, they sent me some that you can grind.
Oh, that's nice.
Lucinda Scala Quinn had a really beautiful book come out called Mother Sauce.
Yep.
We were actually DMing yesterday because the photo on my cover, she also had that linen in her book. And she was
my God.
And I was like, of course.
Right.
She's such a legend. But she kindly sent me, some treats along with her new book. And it was in there. And I love the fact that you can grind it.
Yeah, that's
cool.
really special.
Yeah.
Add a few good pinches or grinds.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to top evenly with fresh mozzarella. Does it need to be sliced super thin? I'm worried about this less is more thing. Or is
I like kind of to tear it sometimes, you know, but it doesn't need to be super thin.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Then we're going to add some thinly sliced soppressata. Mm-hmm. Remind us what kind of meat soppressata is?
It's a spicy pork salami.
Yum.
Yeah.
We'll drizzle with olive oil, place in the oven. We'll bake until the cheese bubbles. The soppressata begins to get crispy, about 8 to 10 minutes.
Oh, now I'm hungry.
Then we're going to transfer the pizza carefully to the cutting board, assuming you have a pizza peel. Do you have one in the kitchen as well? And if one
we
didn't,
do, actually.
You do? If one didn't, is there?
You can use a Chad, again, makes cutting board. So we have like a pretty big one that you made. But
I think I've also seen people maybe if it has a rim, maybe flipping over a baking, like a baking sheet, like a half sheet pan,
that would absolutely
and kind
work.
of pulling it, nudging it on.
Yep.
We'll finish with a few pinches of flaky sea salt. Are you Malden?
I am
person?
a Malden girl.
Me too.
Yeah,
I love Malden
me
so
too.
much.
On anything.
Do you rest the pie, or are we eating it right away?
It can rest for. I would let it sit for like a minute. It doesn't need to rest long, but if you cut it too early, then it gets wet and oozy. And you don't want that.
Then we're going to slice with a pizza wheel, and you say that you really recommend if you're going to be making pizza, get yourself a wheel.
Yes. Any sort of standard pizza cutter will do.
Is it crazy to think you could do it with scissors?
No, in Naples, that's what they do.
Oh. And I love this. This is why I picked this pizza. We can serve this, or we do serve it, with pickled banana peppers on the side. So a couple of questions. Brand?
Yes.
Mazzetta.
Yep. Yes. I love all of Mazzetta's products.
Well, I love a tangy pepper with a creamy cheese.
Any
my
pickle.
God. Could we slice them and put them on top, or do they get too hot and you actually want the difference in the temperature?
Oh, you mean, that's for me.
Peppers.
That's what it is.
Yep.
I like the bright and the freshness and like the contrast of the temperatures.
Yep. Love.
But you could. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
You're not going to break a pizza.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Colu. And I just want to say that you are my cherry pie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor.
That's it for today's show. Don't forget to follow She's My Cherry Pie on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And tell your pals about us. You can find today's recipe at cherrybomb.substack.com. She's My Cherry Pie is a production of the Cherry Bomb Podcast Network. Our producers are Carrie Diamond, Catherine Baker, and Jenna Sadu. Thank you so much for listening to She's My Cherry Pie, and happy baking!